Hi, this is Sahar Shinir, photojournalist and founding spokesperson of Stop Non-Consensual Experiments on All World Citizens. Today is Friday, November 30th, 2018. It is the last business day, the end of that business day, the end of the business week, in fact, the end of November, so the end of my current travel to Albany, where I was hoping to get some legitimate government intervention from the governor's office in particular. Now, the people I spoke with in scheduling were quite nice and at the main correspondence desk. Um, so they are processing my request for an appointment, but not a very big surprise, actually. It's just not processed yet. They did give me confirmation of receipt and that they are, in fact, processing the request, both orally and via email. So I sent a message out today, basically with regard to some good news, which is that I learned that they have a location in New York City, which is where I usually am. It would have been great if I knew that before I came out to Albany, maybe, but I'm still happy to have made the trip. So I'm going to go ahead and review this last part of the set that I sent out during this trip in hope of getting this request completed to be processed successfully so that it will result in an appointment and hopefully legitimate government intervention finally. Let me just forgive me a moment. I'm just moving over to the email app. Okay. So it was sent at 4:47. I was working on this message. I think you'll see why all the business day long. I was keeping my phone open and keeping an eye, hoping I'd hear, that I got an appointment to come in today, because they did tell me that would be possible, that it could be very last minute. They might hear, that they can clear, to be clear to go ahead and have me come in today, but it didn't happen. So I'd been working on this message, and then at that time I sent it out. The subject is urgency. Please schedule for New York City location if there is still no availability to meet in Albany this week. Okay, and then, dear New York Governor Scheduling Office, I will be back in the New York City area for all of December 2018 through February 2019. Please schedule the requested appointment for your New York City location if there is still no availability to meet in Albany this week. These concerns continue to be urgent, preventing me from being able to settle into long-term housing and every other aspect of life. I photo documented the continuation of vehicles with license plates that appeared tampered with and lacking current registration stickers during this travel to Albany, in which the organized predators also amused themselves by obstructing my use of the Albany Freenet Wi-Fi in Washington Park while broadcasting the, quote, NSA surveillance van signal, showing that they cannot be legitimate NSA surveillance people, but they feel emboldened to portray themselves as such. Consistent with the pattern of color of authority abuses by these particular human traffickers that I have been audio-visually documenting for years. I think I should note for the average listener, and it's not, I just mean people who don't have a reason to come across that kind of terminology, color of authority, that basically it tends to be used by people who might actually have positions of authority, or at least will be credible presenting themselves as people in positions of authority because they have some kind of related experience, background, vocabulary, etc. Okay, resources. But if they're acting in an unofficial capacity, some capacity in which they are not lawfully authorized, then they really just have color of authority. I'm trying to think of a good example. Actually, there's one I referenced in this message coming up there were people who might have been real NYPD officers, but they really might not have been police officers at all, or they might not have been New York police officers, and but they were dressed as NYPD officers. They were presenting themselves as NYPD officers. They were driving unmarked vehicles. Okay, they had some kind of a flashing light, like a, people are used to being accompanied by a police siren, but they were careful to keep the noise down, so there was no siren sound. And they pulled over my mother and me for no good or legitimate reason, and immediately started accusing us of something they manufactured. So clearly they were setting up for something, and I felt like they were setting up to abduct and or sexually assault. But if they were, say, police officers, that would be an example of a color of authority abuse, to pull somebody over like that when there's really no good or legitimate reason to do so, and pretending, manufacturing, oh, you must have done something wrong, so we're pulling you over, this kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for now. Okay, so I put in these photographs here. It's from this current trip. So, in fact, less than a week ago, I've been here for some weeks. This is from less than a week ago. I want to say I took it Sunday, but I'm going to, if it's, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on Sunday that I took these photographs. And these, you see how it looks like the characters, and it's not the first time people who've been following have seen this, that what's used in vehicles around me way disproportionately is license plates that have characters that look like they were tampered with, so that, again, people don't go to that kind of trouble to just do legitimate activities. I'm sorry to say, it's a fact. So, and you see these, any registration tags they have on them, they're not current. This one says October 2007, okay? So, and they're just parked there. It's not like they have it, sequestered away in some kind of junkyard lot or something. They're driving with these, and they're parking out on the street in downtown Albany in this case. Here's another one. This one's a New York. That was a Connecticut plate. This one's a New York plate. And when you look at it more closely, it looks like some of these characters, at least, like that W, were tampered with. And this 5, I would say all of these numbers, they don't look like the original set. It looks like somebody went in there tampering with this license plate again, and they have no current registration tag once again. Okay. And then I put in a collage of, it's not the only one, sadly, in a way, but I put in a collage of tampered with license plates and this whole process of being targeted by these organized predators for all these years. So here is one of the most sophisticated ones. It looks like it was tampered with character by character. Okay, somebody put a little bit more time into that and effort, and so you have to look at it a bit more closely to realize that it looks like they swapped out those characters, so we don't really know what the real license plate was under there. And then, some in-between examples where it looks like they swapped out a bunch of characters all at the same time. It takes less effort, takes less time, but it looks more of a mess. Okay, so it's more conspicuous. It's not nearly as subtle and discreet as somebody who put more effort in there. But if you look closely, you can see the whole spectrum. They all still look tampered with. Here was one on the end of the spectrum where they put like the least amount of effort. Sorry, this one's blurrier. It's because it's a screenshot from a video I actually took of it. The video is in my playlist to the attention of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee with regard to the connected epidemic of sexual assaults. And so you'll see it's called Organized Stalking, Makeshift Ontario License Plate for Quebec Construction. And it basically looks like they took a black magic marker and used black magic marker to make this license plate. And it's more clear to see actually in the video, because this is actually pulled as a screenshot from the video. But the video wasn't terribly long, but it was, I want to say it was close to a couple of minutes. And in that time, say within about 2 minutes, but the whole time I was focused on them. So, you'll be able to see that it was a very magic marker looking set of characters for that license plate. And then this one, because it's the only one I took out a character just on the chance I'm going to hear that there's some legitimate explanation for why all this black spray paint is around there, because it's not as much of a mess as the other ones, so it might be a neater job otherwise. But it looks suspiciously like it was probably tampered with. Also, I was not as sure of that one, so that's why I took a character out in case. Because, yeah. So, just in case, that was actually like just messy license plate and not a tampered with license plate, but I think it was both. And then there was this one that basically is this up here is a template I pulled from the government website that shows what the templates look like. It doesn't always just say diplomat. Sometimes it does. These are a type of diplomat license plate. That's the color theme, the pattern for them. Like you'll notice different states have certain standard color themes. People can get custom plates, and they do. But, on average, you're going to see most of the plates will be whatever the standard templates are. And so they're easy to spot, like, those Florida license plates with the Florida orange and the plates, and then the Georgia license plates with the Georgia peach and the license plates. So when you see this kind of pattern with this kind of blue in here and the red up here, this is some kind of diplomatic license plate. And sometimes it just says diplomat. Sometimes it says something more specific, like, consulate. It would say what kind of consulate, like Guyanese consulate, whatever it is, So these people, for some reason, that were using this license plate went to the trouble of painting over whatever it actually said. So it probably did not just say diplomat. It probably was somewhat more informative, such as Guyanese consulate or whatever the case may be. And that they covered up. And that is interesting because generally people who are issued these license plates have at least some kind of significant level of diplomatic immunity. So it does beg the question of what kind of activity would they be up to, in hovering around, lurking around me, and whichever other targets that they would want to go to the time and effort of having, painting over whatever type of diplomat they are, right? Basically, again, it was one of the things that pointed me to the concern being that these organized stalking activities and so forth are connected to the human enslavement and human trafficking activities. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted because all of a sudden I started hearing what sounds like something might be leaking in this apartment. It's the current Airbnb I'm at. It's a slow leak if it's leaking, so I'll check it out after this video. Okay, so then I put a screenshot here from the organized criminal obstruction of Wi-Fi simultaneous with organized sexual predators fraudulent, quote, NSA surveillance van signal. Because I can tell you, I know several people that actually have either themselves or somebody in their family, like their, their parents, their siblings, what have you, worked for NSA. And there's kind of a running joke that NSA stands for No Such Agency. So they don't go around, as some astute friends have also commented, broadcasting, if they were around surveilling, hey, here's our Wi-Fi that we're going to be broadcasting for everybody around that we're trying to surveil to pick up on, that we're the quote NSA surveillance fan. No, that would not be happening. That means that whoever it is, it's not them, that's claiming to be them there. So we're trying to portray themselves as if it's them. So a lot of the, what's happening here is rogue psychological operations groups using black budget funding. And so a lot of these human enslavement and human trafficking activities, the stalking and so forth, the terrorizing, etc., being done through those groups. And I think it seems right up their alley, the way they operate, that they think it's hilarious to go and stalk some target or targets and claim, broadcast with the signal NSA surveillance fan. And so while that was popping up, my ability to use the Albany Freenet signal was totally being blocked, and for no lawful reason whatsoever. So this is just a screenshot. I did the whole video, and that's the link to the video. There is actually in Snowy Oak /videos, facebook.com/Snowy Oak /videos, 394-833-93105-4949. Okay. Then my video playlist to the attention of hopefully legitimate government representatives. I put the link. Forgive me for not reading maybe all of it. I'm just trying to think how long I made this message. Not terribly long. I guess I should read it. Okay. My video playlist to the attention of hopefully legitimate government representatives interested in combating the sexual assault epidemic, including on campus, being fueled by the organized sexual predators and extortioners, human enslavement, and human trafficking activities. And then that's the link to the playlist. But, an easier way to reach it is youtube.com/Shinera.com. CHIN is in Nancy, YEREDOTCOM. And then you could click on playlists, and it's the playlist to the attention of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. Okay. All three of my former father figures were part of this organized sexual predators and extortioners, human enslavement, and human trafficking network. The middle one, whose official work was for the Metropolitan Toronto Police, told me, that's in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, told me outright when I was a child, quote, "Your father sold you to me." I made a parenthetical note that the person believed to be my biological father started preying on the person believed to be my mother during her first year of university when she was only 12. And that is not a typo. She was only 12, 6 years ahead of the rest of her class, which could be overlapping with the reason she was targeted. And he was 21. He claimed he was, quote, dating her. Clearly he was preying on her. Although I tell you, to this day, not terribly surprisingly though, because again, she was only 12, she and I don't agree on that, okay? But 12 is the most common age for that kind of targeting to start, actually. And I have at sometimes said more about that, including specifically with regard to that person who is believed to be my father, who died earlier this year. But this time I'm just going to keep reading. So I included this photo from July 12, 2014 in Las Vegas. Organized predatory ring persisting and blocking. That's my door. On Snowy Oak, I sign a lot of things for expediency and all. It's just with my initials, SC. But so they were persisting and blocking my door despite me making clear that I wanted them to clear the doorway and stop their related activities against me. This was looking out the people from my hotel room door, and they were mocking me for complaining that they were keeping my door blocked. And so there's actually video. You can hear them doing this and see them in all their non-glory, basically. And let's see, the in-room hotel phone that was at Harrah's, where the person I had been told falsely throughout my stay to be the, quote, front desk manager turned out to actually be the, quote, environmental services manager for Harrah's and several connected hotels, was rigged to prevent me from being able to dial out. And there were other related activities that some people who've been following me through that time in mid-2014 remember well. But I'm going to keep reading for now. This is where the video footage is. Facebook.com/video.php?v equals this number 9136788419810993 ampersand set equals VB dot 2456548878245. And I apologize, I know it's not terribly exciting to read off the link. A reason I'm doing that is I'm going to have to actually visit with the Facebook people when I get back to New York City also. They have an office in New York City. One of the reasons I love New York City. I used to be thinking I'd have to make like a trip to San Francisco or something, but now I can just make a trip into Manhattan. There's a Facebook offices there. There are Facebook offices there, and I'm gonna go see about some of the things that have been going on. I'll get their help to get them to stop. So my videos, I've stopped being able to really leave the live copy up for a lot of these kinds of videos reviewing text, because even though I elect to upload them in high definition, some probably, organized predators, hackers are being able to, not necessarily allowed, in fact I don't think they're being allowed, they're able to make it so blurry that nobody can read it. So it's less of a problem, it seems like, if it's not a live stream. Somehow they're getting in there, and people that actually see it live are able to see it all right, as far as I can tell. But then the copy that is staying up there is a really subpar copy that people can't read. So I've been replacing them with these copies that upload separately. So let's see. Dr. L, believed but not known to be my biological mother, has confirmed the major details of the events in which a pair of men pretending to be police and or on official business stopped us with misuse of the flashing light that typically accompanies a siren, though they were careful not to emit conspicuous sound. I believe they intended to commit additional organized abductions and sexual assaults. During this particular occasion, I was a teenager accompanying her during her participation in a conference for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I put that in parentheses because they're called that now, CDCP, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. At that time, when I was still a teenager, they were just called the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. This was in Manhattan. Audio confirmation by Dr. L is at, and this is the link here. So, and this code here toward the end of the video, the audio confirmation starts 9 minutes and 4 seconds into this video. Okay. So, but this is in the playlist. I don't think I'll read off this link. This is in the Chenier.com on YouTube channel in the playlist to the attention of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. It's called Nostalgic Interaction with Dr. L. I probably should have put the title of the video in there, but this is the copy that was sent. So, but for anyone who's looking to hear that video or so, that's it's called Nostalgic Interaction with Dr. L. Okay. Now, this image is what was sent as part 2 of weekly update of March 25th to March 26th, 2016 to initial recipients in the 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time hour on March 27th, 2016. It includes a side-by-side comparison of A, the organized perpetrator's vehicle used in their pretending to be NYPD officers. They sexually assaulted a woman in the Chelsea neighborhood of Manhattan on February 29th, 2016. And B, what might also be the organized perpetrator's vehicle, photographed by me at 1:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, March 27th, 2016. Once again, in all of this multiple years, really lifetime of these perpetual unchecked horror shows, no one has followed up with me at all about me having submitted this to government representatives, including in law enforcement, as of yet either. So, that is interesting. Anyway, this is a screenshot of one of the articles that had come out at the time. See, I just don't remember the source. I think it was metro.us. But I did check it. It was in some more major sources as well. But a reason I took some screenshots is it seemed like they were trying to really keep that story from becoming much of a story. And this has been a very jading experience all the way around. I never would have imagined. I know it sounds really naive probably now, especially to people who know better. But I never would have imagined such extent of corruption, especially in New York. Now, that really sounds naive because I know, like, certain cities have a particular reputation for organized criminal activities. But I mean, as far as law enforcement not wanting to do what they're supposed to do about it, I didn't think so many people were willing to cooperate with these things running rampant. In any event, so yeah, here was the link at metro.us/new-york/fake-cops-sexually-assaulted-in-Chelsea-NYPD. Something that always bothered me about this also, the last time I know anyway, I don't know if there's been some updates since because I lost track of the story since, but I was checking it in that time frame. They claimed they could not find these people, even though they had some of these street cam footage and all of them, in addition to what I sent them that I thought might also be them. I don't understand, especially how in a place like New York City, you know how surveilled this, like every street corner, literally at least every single, it's very gridded, and there's street cams at every intersection, street light, etc. And not to mention all the businesses and their surveillance. I can hardly imagine how it could be possible that they just evaded all these cameras and so that they disappeared and nobody could figure out where they went to, unless someone that was able to disappear stuff off of the surveillance cam feeds was covering up for them. I'm sorry to say. I mean, I'm really sorry to even have to think this. I just don't understand how else this could be happening. So, and this is why I'm stopping to make some of these more technical notes to share, video journals and all, because it's necessary, because I don't want to be disappeared. So I didn't want any of this situation, as far as I didn't ask to be preyed upon my whole life for as long as I can remember, which my memories basically start from when I was 6 years old. And for these people to be in a position where they just are so boldly thinking they never have to accept my no for my final answer. And they get to just keep after and after and after me. And because nobody's going to do anything to make them stop, and so they figure eventually I'll just be dead or I'll have to give in. So I don't accept these being the only possibilities. So we're making a way to a third possibility, which is with the help of the public, finally, there will be enough pressure that they'll have to at least make enough of an appearance of legitimate intervention that those activities are made to stop, so that I could finally start living a proper quality of life that I have very much earned in multiple times over, and as well as other people similarly situated. Sorry, let's see. And then I noted it could be the same. It could, some of this smaller text is really just it's from that update from March 2016. So I'm continuing on to here. It could be the same vehicle. You see, it was a slide presentation. I had done a PowerPoint presentation with slides. This was one of the pages, one of the slides. It could be the same vehicle that sped past me after an attempt was made to stop me with a false police siren when I had nearly reached the Wyndham Garden Hotel in Long Island City, New York on March 24th, 2016. And so that's this vehicle here. Photographed on March 27th, 1:03 p.m. in 2016. And it was actually from my room once I got into the hotel room in the Wyndham Garden Hotel. Which, by the way, I want to mention, I like the hotel and I like the staff there. They've been very nice to me and all. This is not a reflection on them. This is that my communications have been getting live surveilled in real time and interfered with in real time for at least years now, very probably my whole life, before I even realized that was happening. And when I got to the hotel, so again, I'm going to skip some of the smaller print that was prepared for the slides at the time, but I'll put them in. I'll try to get a clear enough focus on there so in case somebody wants to read it. So when I got to the hotel, it's actually, the picture doesn't really do it justice, but if you know what it's supposed to be like, especially, you'll realize there's no cars are supposed to be there. The valet does not do that. There is parking spaces and all out of the view, like, of this frame of in this picture. There, in addition to places potentially people can park on the street, but this is the main entrance here for people to get in and out of the hotel. It's not a terribly big, lobby situation. Has, like in a lot of places in New York City, in Manhattan. Well, this is in borough of Queens, but it's in Long Island City, very, very close to, like, you just cross over and a little bit of water and you're over in Midtown Manhattan. So it's big in terms of its vertical space, has several floors going upward. It doesn't take that much space, on ground level. And so people are needing to get, whether they work there or they're, guests, they're needing to get in and out here. And so these people, having stalked me all the way from the subway to the hotel, when I get there, they had this vehicle, again with the very deeply black tinted windows and all, and somewhat of a larger vehicle. They seem, when they're getting ready to do an abduction, like they tend to have more disproportionately more larger vehicles around me. So that's definitely something I've come to notice and be aware and wary of. So then they, they're right there. see, I wish I'd gotten some more angles on it or so, but they were right there. I mean, I had to squeeze in. By the time, I think they were probably trying to back it off a little bit. By the time I was like, I was so exhausted and all, but I was like, you know what, I'm coming back out and I'm going to photograph that this vehicle was like just there, and then they were continued to be sitting there, just like, I don't know at this point if these were the high beams, but I believe that they had the high beams on at me. Like, it was one of the things that they do also to try to make you feel, well, targeted, basically. They enjoy making their targets feel targeted. They just try to not let other people see that that's what they're doing. And anybody who might actually help to make them stop or put pressure for them to be stopped. They don't like to be seen in that way. They don't want to face consequences, but they enjoy terrorizing their targets and so forth. And it was a Maryland license plate, a standard template for a Maryland license plate. And it said Maryland. I'm sorry, it's not terribly clear in this copy here. And I took the license plate out because this one did not look tampered with. I think what it says there, at least not obviously to me, I think what it says there might well be the real license plate. So I took out, the middle part. Now looking here, I don't know if they had any current registration tag either. But this picture is not clear enough for me to be 100% sure on the registration tag. Okay. So now I did send the image without taking any part of it out to the government officials at the time. That was in 2016. Transcription from 5 minutes and 5 seconds into the video to 5 minutes and 34 seconds. I asked the person believed to be my mother, did they say who they are, who were threatening to press charges if you didn't file for guardianship? She said, did you hear what I told you? Remember what I told you? If I find out who it is, that means there's a court document. Those court documents I have to go through, and we can go through that, but that's in criminal court in Madison County. Madison County, by the way, being where Huntsville, Alabama is, the highest documented concentration of the Nazi war criminal scientists where they were put to work. And it still has ramifications on what's going on, unfortunately. Even if that generation of people, if they're not actively alive and working now, these are multi-generational activities. So I said, oh, so you think there is something in criminal court in Madison County? And she said, it will be if we want to know what it is. And so not the only threat from these people, they're either angling one way or the other to try to frame me and etc. And this is the link. Let me think. Oh, I should have put the title here again for future reference. I'll try to remember. The title of this video, it's also in that playlist, the video playlist on the Chinyere.com channel on YouTube. So youtube.com/CHINYEREDOTCOM, and then go to playlist, go to the to the attention of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, and it's the video called Dr. L admits feeling coerced to press false charges or press false allegations. And I shared the following with the public on October 29th, 2018. Quote, a police officer, a person trusted to enforce the law, forcibly dragging a little girl back to be sexually abused. And I made a note, more than one person wearing police uniforms participated in the abuses reported by the interviewee, as is a pattern among many other victims internationally, especially when they are initially being groomed to learn that they can never trust to seek help against their abusers by going to police. It's from Australian Channel 9's 60 Minutes television report, Spies, Lords, and Predators, regarding what the reporter Oh, I wish I'd looked up how to pronounce his last name. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I hope I don't butcher it. Ross? I don't know. Coulthart. I don't want to butcher his last name. Believes to be a highly protected network of organized predators that prey on children in the United Kingdom. The first words of the video description are, quote, not shown in UK. So this was about basically a very similar, probably interrelated network, because this is an international network I've been dealing with lifelong. So this is probably basically focused in on their British counterparts. Now, it was done by the 60 Minutes out of Australia, and apparently has not been allowed to be being broadcast in the United Kingdom, where the predators being reported on are based. So the link, it was put up by the channel Morph314, is YOUTU.BE/IHPNL72Y capital H small p capital U. Sometimes, contrary to what some people think, sometimes it matters to make sure to have what, the ones that are supposed to be capitalized, and the ones that are not. Okay, otherwise sometimes the computer will, the search results will say they don't recognize what you're looking for, and it might just be that things, it might be an issue of the caps. Okay. So then, excerpted from my weekly update of May 15th, 2015 to government representatives, including of the U.S. Senate Committee on the Judiciary. From 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 30 seconds into an April 14th, 2015 interview of Dr. John Hall by Solaris Blue Raven. Dr. Hall, that's Dr. John Hall, of Texas, one of the states where non-consensual human experimentation, including what seems to be for coercive control purposes, seems to be disproportionately high, states the following. And I had another officer actually call me from Fort Bragg, and one of his men seemed to be getting controlled. And by the way, the 5th POG, the 5th Psychological Operations Group, is actually based out of Fort Bragg. For anyone who listens to the interview, he just calls it a POG. I'm just spelling it out to help make sure, because I usually just abbreviate them to PSYOPs groups. It's the same thing being referenced as Psychological Operations Group. And he's talking about this one out of Fort Bragg. And there was a young soldier there that had been caught raping girls, other female soldiers. That was a Freudian slip, sorry. Because my experience was being targeted, one of several female scholars at University of Maryland, Baltimore County campus, by one of the government-protected assigned serial rapists, because this is not just some kind of hormonal surge or a random happenstance or something. The fact this is epidemic in these environments is because professional serial rapists are being serially assigned and professionally protected, as well as professionally instructed how to go about the assaults, etc., and how to increase the chances of getting away with it, etc., to have the effects that this network wants to have on their targets. And I've gone into more detail on that aspect in some other files, so I'm going to keep reading here for now. And there was a young soldier there that had been caught raping girls, other female soldiers. And his officer called and said that this was not within his personality to do it, and that he doesn't seem to remember actually doing any of these attacks. He was controlled. And then his officer was convinced. He said, the guy says he doesn't remember doing this. That he, had to have been in an altered state. And I don't know what to think of this. I know we're subjected to the 5th POG, Psychological Operations Group, research here on base, and I'm really wondering if this guy was controlled, because I know the soldier, I know him well, and it's not within his personality to commit these kind of crimes. And he couldn't buy either one of my books on base. That's from, this was an interview done by Solaris Blue Raven. I think she did a very nice job. You know, I was copying and pasting from some other sources, and I was exhausted, and I normally try to remember to put the source as far as from like her channel and all too. I would have put there and as her as interviewer, but this is the link on her channel. It's youtu.be/dk, capital P as in Paul, capital B as in boy, then small letters WCS, capital J-84. Okay. It's a file from April 14th, 2015. And I put the link to my December 2014 written testimony to the U.S. Senate Committee on the Judiciary with regard to this tragically ongoing connection between organized sexual predation. It took me a long time to imagine that there could be highly organized, internationally networked sexual predation and government protected to boot. But there's no escaping this knowledge now. It's clear. I mean, it's hard to imagine that you can send these government officials the kind of evidence I've been sending and proof in many cases. I've sent them audio that I risked my safety further. I mean, my safety was already at risk and I was going to be dead if no one would step in to help me, and there's no public awareness. So I recorded them having some meetings. They were planning to abduct me at gunpoint, etc. They were planning to abduct me on the coming Monday, the Monday that was coming around at that time. So clearly I had to make sure I wasn't there for the Monday, etc. You know, I'm tired of living like this. I have not done anything criminal against anybody else. There is no good or legitimate reason why my entire life, from the time I am a child in the single digits and still going on in my late 40s, that I should keep being hunted down with no intervention from any legitimate government source, including law enforcement, to make these damn people stop. And if they can be doing this to me, which they have been, they can be doing it to anybody else. And I can hardly even imagine how I got through my teenage years with this going on. Because I have a lot more wherewithal, a lot more connections, a lot more resources, etc. now, and I still have yet to see legitimate government intervention. So here is this paper that any number of people, including in high up in government, told me is really well documented and written, etc. Well, it's here, but I still have yet to have anybody step up and be offering any official intervention. So the easiest way to get to that paper, it's 10 pages of body, of main body. It has additional supplemental citations and so forth, is to go to Cheniere.com, CHINYERE.com, and toward the top of that home page, there's a link to the, I think it says, I think it actually maybe says it's the written testimony to the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. It might say public safety alert, but I think it says specifically to that paper. And you click there, and it'll take you right into the PDF. And then here's a link to the summary of Snowy Oak concerns. And basically about who seems to be getting disproportionately targeted on the campuses and these kinds of environments includes military bases and cult compounds. Not limited to these, but there's certain environments where these people have been having particular free-for-alls, and it has to do with their analysis of where they figure they could get away with it best, with the least likelihood of any kind of real legitimate intervention to stop them from doing whatever they feel like, basically. So they're well shielded from off-campus and off-base, off-military base, non-military eyes, basically, when they keep these things to the certain campuses and bases, etc. Then I inserted my the 2 pages, that was the front and back of the form I was given to submit to the FBI, and therein, if you go to snowyoak.com, that's SNOEOAWC Facebook.com/Snowyoke. That's Facebook.com/SNOEOAWC, and /photos. And you'll see they're not hard to find in that basically they're appearing in reverse chronological order, and I do post regularly, but this is still toward the top of the photograph section. It's from July 28th, 2017. So I'm sorry that I'm so exhausted, I'm so upset. And I tried to file a report over the phone. People have a right to do that. I should have been able to do that. I was diverted to somebody who mocked me, who lied to me. He told me falsely, well, you don't even know who's doing this to you. I said, hold on. It's not my job. I don't remember if I actually told him it's not the part about it's not my job to know, because it's really their job to go and investigate, but I've had to do all this investigation for them because obviously they're not interested to do it. And that's very interesting. And I would say they don't really need to investigate. They're showing that they already know who's doing it, and they're just interested in covering it up. Okay, that's apparently what's going on. So there's no getting around that anymore. That conclusion. It's glaring. So, but I said, by now I do know a lot of the people involved, and it includes the person believed to be my stepfather, who has worked for the FBI. And this man laughed at me and hung up on me. And I never had raised my voice to him. I never swore at him. I did not lie to him. He laughed at me, was totally unprofessional toward me, and hung up on me. So I was compelled, if I wanted to have any chance of still hoping to get some kind of legitimate government intervention, to walk over there and submit the complaint in person. So I photographed this on their desk because I did suspect that they were going to try to play dead like they've been doing my whole life. Very much reminiscent of what was in that report about police just handing these damned organized predators, the little girl, the little children, and for the rest of your life, however long that gets to be, it'll be a consequently abbreviated life in quality and in quantity. Should these people keep getting to do this stuff, as long as you're alive. I mean, it's bound to make your life less in both quality and in duration if there's no intervention to all this organized predatory activities against targets of theirs. Lifelong targets from the time they start targeting you, and they never see a reason that they have to stop, and they don't want to stop, and nobody's been making them stop. So I photographed this on their desk. People who are into investigation and so forth know that that's significant, in that I was thinking they're going to try to maybe pretend like I wasn't there or something, the way that guy would try to pretend, if he could get away with it, that I didn't even make that phone call. So, I logged the specific time, and all of the phone call was the same day. It was at 2:11 in Eastern Standard Time. And then I walked it over to them. I submitted it in the 4 o'clock hour, 4:45 p.m. And this is when I was there and finishing this paper. The desk agent on duty was Sanoguet, Sanoguet. I knew it was important to remember who was there also for documentation and all. And she gave me this paper to fill out at their desk. And it has a certain distinctive qualities in the texture, the coloring, etc., the materials. So I photographed the front and the back. And again, thankfully in this regard, This was in Manhattan, in walking distance from where I worked with honors at the New York County District Attorney's Office to help witnesses and Witness Aid Services Unit. And it is extraordinarily well surveilled all around there and all. They're not going to be able to get away with pretending like I wasn't there and that I didn't deliver that. But I realized very, very sadly that they might otherwise have tried. So thus I've had to go to all these lengths to document. But still, my complaint's been completely ignored. My report altogether, including my request to speak with the victim specialist, which I've been told is a further violation of my rights in this whole nightmare that's been going on here lifelong. A continued endangerment to me. I just published today, November 30th, 2018, video documentation that to this very day, the organized sexual predators and extortioners stalking and unlawful real-time surveillance and obstruction of communications continues. For this reason, as discussed with your office, I will call once a week to check whether an appointment has been scheduled. Actually, as I think about it, because they're always trying to set me up, and so I've been told by some of the people, including some people who have worked for the FBI, that don't like what's going on there with the corruption and all, and people just having a free-for-all, to assault me however they want, whenever they want, etc. From since I was a child and with no end in sight yet, they suggested that I basically get some help from like a lawyer. So I'll probably do that because I don't want to hear manufactured stuff about anything that I might have supposedly, like, oh, I was swearing at somebody at the governor's office or something. It's not in my nature, not something I've ever done, not something I'm about to start doing, but I don't even want to give them the chance to go making stuff up, and I'm always having to document, exactly what is said and everything, record every conversation, etc. But it's time consuming, it's storage eating, it consumes the storage, it consumes the time, everything. So I think I'm gonna probably really just have somebody else, like an attorney, touch base with them on a weekly basis until an appointment is either obtained or they make an official decision that they actually have to come out and acknowledge that they won't give the appointment, despite obviously having perfectly reasonable and well documented need for the legitimate intervention. They either have to admit that they're so corrupt and don't care that they won't bother to give me an appointment to provide any semblance of legitimate government intervention, instead of just pretending like they don't even know anything about me despite me reaching out and giving them all this information, or they're going to provide an appointment. But I'm going to leave it up to somebody else probably to communicate with them once a week about it until there's one of those things happens. So thank you, and God bless you.